Ric, the air show industry is visually as exciting as anything could possibly be. But without the guy to kind of set the tone, maybe it's not so good. Tell me, what's it take? I mean, what is innate in being a good air show announcer?
You have to know the people. We get fixated on the aircraft sometimes, and as cool as that is, and as interesting as that is, in a lot of cases that technology takes years to be replaced. We have the Raptor, which is new, and then you have new facets of history that come back again in the heritage flight kinds of things. But the thing that makes it very special are the people. And when you connect, and from the ground, I can tell their stories to the crowd. So you know how hard that guy pushed himself academically, or how hard that woman pushed herself physically to be able to do what they do, whether it be aerobatics or in the military role, the training that goes into it, the money that goes into it, the commitment that goes into it, and all of a sudden there's a whole different dimension to that story. And you connect to people, and when you connect to people, we get that inspiration that's so important, because it's a really cool and incredible thing to aviate, to fly, to get up into the sky and do what they do. And that's the big thing, to communicate that, and that just seals the excitement, I think.
Who are your heroes in this business? Who are your idols? Who do you look up to?
Well, as I mentioned, Stu was a mentor like a long time ago, and if Stu's watching, I hope you know that, Stu. I've told you that in the past. I'll tell it to you again, and thank you, because you got me into this. The Sean D. Tucker, I mean, you can't be around Sean without lighting up. Kent Peach, a complete opposite personality, very quiet, but inside, you know, that whole Peach family have it from their dad. The heartfelt sincerity and connection to the little people and stuff, and in a small airplane with a comedy act, and some of the things they do. John Moore, who took me in 1999 under his wing, literally, and I said, I need to know more stories, I need to connect more about how this whole industry works. And so I was his spot announcer for a year, and we traveled all across North America doing the transfer at the time with a helicopter act with Royce, and when he did 3 flights in a day, and I would narrate that for him as a spot announcer and got to know everybody around the industry. That was an amazing thing, and he's been an inspiration. And what he can do with a vintage airplane that's so underpowered and overweight is just an amazing thing too. So that's just 3 of them, but in real time, it's everybody here. They all inspire me, because I'm standing on the ground. I mean, I'm doing the easy part. They're up there doing what they do, and they are the stars. And I find it inspiring every time I do it. I never get tired of it.
You've heard of this thing called WAAS, right? The Wide Area Augmentation System lets you fly GPS glide path approaches without relying on ground-based landing aids. No VOR, no ILS, no problem. Fact is, WAAS is so smart, it even knows what you're going to say next time you need it. And don't have it on board. Wah! I want my WAAS now! I was really crying there for a second.
Well, you're part of a pretty small fraternity, and mostly a fraternity, I should mention. There's not many women in the announcing game, unfortunately. But what got you into this? Why wouldn't you get a real job?
Right, exactly what I just said was how it connected it. Like so many of us, when you're going and you're a kid, my dad was dragging me along and taking me to air shows, and I'd hear a narrator. At the time, it was Stu Holloway up in Canada, and Stu, a terrific voice and everything. So there, I kept connecting to that and his stories and thinking, I could do that. That's something I want to do. And then in 1984, it started because of an accident. There was tragedy. We had a crash in St. Hubert. I'm from Montreal, and the little South Shore airport there that's so busy, I had a traditional air show, and I was working in radio at the time, and they did not have an announcer. They had a public event guy from a local brewery with one of these event trucks with a sound system who didn't really know aviation. He didn't have that connection. And so when it went bad fast. And I remember that day and saying, I'll volunteer to help next time so that doesn't happen. Then they also, through that, learned that they should get a professional sound system. Dan McLaren at the time, Mach 1 Productions. This was 25 years ago. And we just built up a friendship from there. And he said, you ought to take this act on the road. You bring some comedy to this, which not a lot of the other announcers are doing. Not that that makes anybody any better than anybody else. It just makes it a little different. I see the world a little differently than most people, as you probably well know. And I brought it to here, to the convention and started booking shows, and now cross the border legally and do shows on both sides and have an awful lot of fun doing it. So now I'm living my dream.
How do you prepare for a show?
Knowing the people. I want the stories we hear here, the stories about who they are, family people, you know, the things that will connect them to the audience. And so I'm a storyteller, and I love stories. And that's how I prepare. And all the data on the airplane over the years and stuff is usually locked in. We know how an airplane flies, why it flies, and that's important to tell people too that don't know about that stuff. But the people stories and the stories behind these people, that's how you prepare. And once you get to know that stuff, the guys like Danny Clesham who've been around and have, I mean, endless stories, fascinating stuff, because all of these people are fascinating.
It's so hard to get Danny to tell you a story.
That's true. He's such a shy and I don't know how he's ever been a successful announcer, to be honest with you.
Cirrus Design's Vision SJ50 single-engine personal jet offers exceptional fuel efficiency, flexible seating for up to 7, advanced avionics, and all the Cirrus safety features you expect, including the Cirrus airframe parachute system. With its detailed design, the Cirrus Vision is technologically advanced, yet engineered to be simple to fly, to allow owner pilots more lifestyle pursuits than any other personal aircraft. Learn more about the Vision SJ50 at cirrusdesign.com.
Do you have a favorite moment as an airshow announcer?
The most amazing thing was a connection through this industry to go to the Smithsonian and go into the facility where they actually rebuild things, and they were working on the Wright Brother Flyer. And one of the guys working on that asked me to put on a pair of white gloves, and I didn't know what he had in mind, and he handed me one of the control stick pieces. And to have that in my hand for a moment, it just hits you. You know, it's like, wow. And then one of the strangest moments at an air show for me was going to Le Bourget in France to go to the Paris Air Show, which I've done on a few occasions now. And I desperately wanted to find the actual spot where Lindbergh stepped out of the plane. When he shut that prop off and got out of the plane at Le Bourget, I was told there's a plaque commemorating that on the ground. And do you think I could find that? And do you think anyone in France was going to help me find that? And then to find out that the area it was in was where the Russians were set up at the time. And they were there with all their aircraft. And I thought, I'm never going to get any help going in there, because they're all at the time where security was tight. You can't take pictures. You can't be in there. They had people camped out sleeping there overnight. And so I tipped the little old lady that sits outside the washroom doors in Europe. It's a special thing, you know. They're there to look after you and clean things. And I asked her if she knew where it was, and she did. And I gave her 20 francs, and she took me out and literally rolled a garbage can off to the side, and it was under a garbage can. And I thought, either somebody's got a bad thing going, or she was doing it to get tips. I wasn't quite sure what was going on there, but I got it, have the picture, and that was a very special moment. Very special moment.
And finally, what advice would you give to people who might be interested in following in your footsteps?
What I'd say to them is bring it to the next level. The technology we have now when it comes to sound and telling these stories, you have to do the work to get to know the stories. In order to get the stories, you have to get to know the people. To get to know the people, you have to connect with them, and that's all a good thing, and that's actually the easy part of the job. The hard part, the technology, is embracing the computer concepts now, the music, and adding the drama and the emotion to what we do, and that's all coming together so quickly now. And I know that the younger people coming up are so used to that and see the world differently that way that they can paint a whole new dimension to this by employing the video stuff we're seeing, the technology like you're using, and the sound equipment coming along with that too is going to take it up to the next level. So bring it on, and do your homework, and stop dreaming and start flying, I guess is the way they say it.